craziest leveling tricks that players discovered. Back in 2014, old-school Runescape players started uncovering something that would change the way people train skills forever. The game had a strange system called ticks, which meant that every single action, from fishing to mining, happened in tiny slices of time that lasted exactly 0.6 seconds, so it controlled almost everything in the game. And at first, most players never thought much about it, since it was just part of how the game worked. But a few players realized this system could actually be used to break the limits of how fast you could level up. You see, one player named Zarfot had already been experimenting with efficiency years before, as he discovered that RuneScape actions always happened in perfect cycles. And at the time, even the game's creator, Andrew Gower, mentioned ticks on the forums, calling it useless information. But that so-called useless detail turned out to be the foundation for one of the most powerful tricks in OSRS history, because things truly changed when the game relaunched as old-school RuneScape, because that's when players started to actually master this system. The thing is, by performing a quick action that takes 3 ticks, like mixing Guam leaves with swamp tar right before a normal skill action, players could reset the game's timer so they could skip waiting. That meant mining, fishing, or woodcutting could be done up to 40 or even 50% faster than normal, as well as making training sessions feel much smoother. It became known as tick manipulation, and players who learned it could gain experience rates that felt impossible to reach before. Now, some players felt that manipulating the game's ticks was like abusing a bug, but then the creators of RuneScape themselves surprised a decent portion of the player base. What I mean is that in 2020, Jagex, the company behind RuneScape, officially said tick manipulation was completely allowed, as it was completely within the game's mechanics.